Good. Waiting for this to update on. That's a good sound check, right? We'll make a good sound check. Phillip is grabbing a beer. I am here. That also means his channel is live. So if you go over to 40 Watt Podcast, YouTube, that means his channel is live, but he's not there, which is actually kind of amusing. It just means that I'm here, but he's not here. So you want to show Phillip some love. There is the link in the chat. But
hello,
hey man, what's up,
man? Celebrating America and freedom.
What beer are you drinking this morning?
I am drinking.
It's not morning for you anymore, right?
I'm officially in afternoon, so this is socially acceptable at this point.
Yeah.
It's 12:24 here as we start. I'm drinking Goose Island hazy beer hug.
Interesting. I think the only Goose Island beer that we get here is the expensive one.
Oh, well, they're all expensive. What are you talking about?
Are they all expensive?
Yeah. They're Goose Island is I don't know. They're like a middling. You know what I mean? They're like I don't know. They're like low cost boutique.
So don't get me started on Goose Island. I have opinions.
Oh,
hey,
really?
Joe. So Goose Island. So the one that we get here, is it tropical beer hug?
Yeah, I've got some of those.
Beer hug.
Yeah, this is hazy. I bought their, so they have a 4-pack. There's hazy, there's tropical, there's a neon. They're all some variation of an IPA, okay. But I like them because they're not like the hyper bitter hipster of beer. Like, how bitter can we get? To me, beer gets like, when you get in IPAs, it gets into this like weird hipster. You know how hipsters like bad music?
Yes.
Yeah, and then they claim that they love it because it's not popular, and it's like a challenge. Who can like the most unpopular music? So I think IPAs got to that point at some point. Like, it's like, how bitter can we get it? And these idiots will still say it's good. it's I don't know. And Joe, I get it. I've become an IPA person, but I have to be picky about IPAs. I don't want the hyper bitter. I want a little bit. And then on top of that.
So the one that we get here is the Bourbon County Stout. The one that's like $10 for like a 12-ounce bottle.
Sure.
And they'll sell it at Costco. Actually, I think it's more than that because they'll sell it at Costco. No, I guess that's right. It's like, because it's like a 12-pack for like $100.
Yeah.
And I've actually been told that is one of the beers, at least in the past, that's like a speculative beer because they don't, which is weird that they get it in Costco because apparently doesn't have like national distro.
Oh, sure.
So there used to be, it used to be like you could buy, someone told me like, oh, you could buy that like 10-pack or 12-pack for $100 and probably turn it into like $300, which is really wild to me. But what I was gonna, unless something has changed, which I'm sure I would be surprised if it hasn't. Let's see what Wikipedia has to say. Yep. Goose Island in 2011 was purchased by Anheuser-Busch.
Oh.
So
America.
So I have a very limited take on what I will and won't drink. That's really bad. Yeah, well, it's not really bad. It's just like if I'm gonna drink like macro, I just drink macro. Like I'll just buy like Coors Stubby bottles or
Oh,
whatever.
sure. Yeah.
Um, but the whole thing where Goose Island was, I think, one of the first bigger ones, but the whole thing like 10 years ago, 10, 12, 15 years ago, where micro or a bunch of different brands, craft brewers, craft micro, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. Yeah.
all started getting bought up by
By the big companies.
the
Yep.
big companies.
Yeah.
Like I was like, all right, like it, because the thing is a lot of those places now, it doesn't look like Goose Island. Well, Goose Island, like you're talking about this like IPA variety pack.
Mhm.
But a lot of brands, when that has happened, they just stagnate. They stop making any new product.
Oh, yeah, that
They
tracks.
they
Well,
just, okay, this is what we have, so this is what we're sticking with.
well,
And the
if that's good, I'm okay with it. Like if you make a great beer, I feel like I feel this going into guitar conversation. Like I feel the parallels. But if what you make is good and people keep wanting it, then fine, just make that. Don't mess with it if you don't have to.
no, because only a Gibson is good enough. No,
You said it, not me.
no, I think I just, the only point being, so there's like some other shady things that happened with it too. One of the San Diego, oh, there is 10 Barrel Brewing. One of the breweries that opened, or locations that opened in San Diego, was all of a sudden we got an expanded location for a company called 10 Barrel.
Mhm.
And 10 Barrel came to San Diego and they announced it as like, get your Portland beer, because like
Oh God.
basically, in the US there's like four or five spots that at the time were like really known for beer.
Right. Has that really changed? If we're
San
honest.
Diego, Portland, Michigan in general, but it's like Michigan, Wisconsin kind of like together.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, everything in the Midwest is spread out.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's
yeah.
so it's like we say like, oh, we have a lot of this, and then the Midwest is like, yeah, but we have like Milwaukee, Michigan, and Chicago, and it's like it's like three places, and one
Mhm.
of those places is a state.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, it's like, well, dude, that's like Mississippi. People just say Mississippi because once
yeah,
we're only 3.3 million people here.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
San Diego County, I think, is 3.1.
Right, exactly. Your county has as many as my state. Oh, my Logify, me Logify. I can never say it. The Moog just stays plugged in because I tinker with it all the time. I got it on a trade a couple of years ago. I almost sold it, but then I really got into soundscaping and playing just fun stuff. And so I've got that, and I've got the Op 6 next to it. If I can turn the camera towards it. Yeah, look at that. Okay. I'm not much of a synth player. I don't do soundscape. I don't do sound design, but I love the presets.
Yeah.
I mean, the presets are great.
Actually, there is a really good parallel to all of this right now. The thing I'm describing with like 10 Barrel
Oh yeah, yeah.
is 10 Barrel comes to San Diego. They're like, we're Portland beer. And at the time, there was like a really big beer blog in San Diego, or I don't know if they were national, but at least they were like well known in San Diego with the craft brewers. It's like Craft Brewers Association, whatever. That basically came out and said like, look, 10 Barrel, the reason that they're able to expand is because they have a massive cash infusion from Anheuser-Busch.
Oh yeah.
That's like, and so they are like, oh, let's go to San Diego. But a lot of people thought at the time that the reason that they were doing this is to dilute San Diego, like to dilute the San Diego brand by like trying to get people in San Diego to like think outside the San Diego box, which we did, we already did, but like maybe not like necessarily younger folks. So
Okay.
the analog to this, that's actually perfect right now, I think, is TC Electronic.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Which, was purchased by, oh, it doesn't look like 10 Barrel is in San Diego anymore. Good.
Oh, good. So, just to answer a couple of questions, someone is asking.
Oh yeah, let's hit these questions.
Yeah, I want to ask you.
Which one do you want to start with?
I'm going to start with the one I see that's still there, the best chorus pedal.
All right, this is from Kenna. What's the best chorus pedal? Please help.
So, Kenna, I went on a chorus journey, and I will give you my opinion as to the best chorus pedal.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's the one I kept. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some really great ones. There are some really expensive ones. There are some really inexpensive ones. I'm going to give you what I think is the best, and I kept it. It's the Analog Man chorus, not the bi-chorus, you can get the mini one if you want, if you like a small pedal. And this one has the depth switch. So it does a thing with the low end.
Yeah.
So the Analog Man chorus is based on the EHX small clone. I can never remember if the clone is the chorus or if the stone is the chorus. It's small clone or small stone. I'm not sure, but this is based on that. And this is the best chorus pedal I
believe it's
ever played.
Small clone. The small stone, I think, is the phaser.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Facebook user. I don't know who the Facebook user is. It doesn't tell me your name. I'm sorry.
Facebook user is Will Hugh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why these are just parsed as Facebook user. I only own right now, I think, one chorus pedal. I'm gonna just grab it real quick.
Sure. And I'll just mention this. Yeah, this is the only chorus I own as well, and there's a reason. Now, there are some notable mentions I will mention while he's getting that pedal. Native Audio makes an incredible chorus called Pretty Bird Woman. I recommend that one. I had it for a little while. Also, Joe in the chat has mentioned the Eventide Tricera chorus. If you want all the things, Eventide will give it to you. I think Joe just announced she's about to do a big Pedal Playhouse video of the Tricera chorus. So you'll see a lot more of that soon.
The only chorus I own right now that at least I think I own is this one, the Caroline Somersault.
And
modulator.
To just call that a chorus is unfair to that pedal. That I love that pedal. I genuinely love that pedal. I had one, but I use
this with bass a lot actually. It does like the real subtle thing real good. Other real popular. I mean, I think like it's hard to throw a rock and not hit a pedal board that has a Julia on it.
That's true. I mean, if you want, like, there's a lot that are readily available, and I'm always going to tell you. I mean, support the companies that you love. I love Mike over at Analog Man, so I tend to buy Analog Man pedals from him. I did not buy this one from him, though. I bought this from Lauren over in the Get Offset Patreon Discord.
I'm not sure I know who that is.
But it did not have the depth switch. I'll give you just like the nice guy that Mike is. I got to ask him questions about this one, and I was ordering something from him anyway. So I was talking to him about this. He said, "I tell you what, send that up to me. I'll add the depth switch for you for free."
Oh, cool.
And just because I was buying something else from him.
That is a lot of fun.
Brent, hold on. I got it. Is it the RC99? Please tell me it's the RC99. I used to have one. I actually have a live album that I used it on, and I regret ever selling that pedal. It's monstrously big.
I think that's the only one.
Is that the only one?
I don't know. When I punch in RC99, or when I punch in Ibanez rotary course, that's what comes up. That's what he says, the RC99, and that thing does look way too big.
It's so good though. And I regret selling it. I keep almost buying another one. There's one on Reverb right now for $160. And I cannot bring myself to do it.
I'm going to step out for 30 seconds. I've realized I don't have water.
Oh, sure.
It's going fine for now, but it's going to get bad in about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Facebook user who might be Will, might not be. 80s or 90s best era for chorus. I like 90s chorus. I like the way the 90s used it. 80s is just a little too much for me. I think 90s use it a lot more subtly. To be honest, I'm going to be that typical person. My favorite use of chorus is actually, I think I have a video on this where I talk about this over, on the YouTube channel. My favorite use of chorus is basically this setting. That's the lowest speed possible, highest depth possible. Because I like to use it for clean tones as it's just a little bit of movement, which is how Stevie Ray Vaughan used chorus. A lot of people don't think of Stevie Ray Vaughan as a chorus user, but that's how he used it. He had a rack mount of some unit I never remember because I don't care enough to remember the exact unit people use. I like to remember what they did.
Oh man, so very unprofessional.
It's okay. This is the low key stuff, man. This is the relax and chat and not get too bent out of shape about it. We're not recording a podcast here.
That's the plan.
Because we can't edit it out. So
what's new? What's new with you?
Oh, that in the back.
The Pelham.
Yeah, the Pelham Blue Junior. So I was in Chicago a couple of weeks ago at this point now. It's actually a little over a week ago, and walked into my favorite music store in the U.S., Rock and Roll Vintage, and actually talk about this on this week's coming up podcast just a little bit. A 40-watt podcast, not 60 cycle hum. Y'all do a totally different thing. But that was hanging on the wall. Sorry, I'm going to learn to point in the correct direction. I already have a Junior, obviously. Did not need a new Junior, but it's Pelham Blue. They only made it in Pelham Blue in 1 year.
Interesting.
2011. The only way to get a Pelham Blue Junior now, other than finding one of these very rare 2011s, is custom shop. That's the only way to get a Junior in Pelham Blue. And they had this priced at like 2015 Junior prices. There was no way I was not walking away with it. It just was not happening. Oh, Steve, I disagree. 90s. I talked about this while you were getting water, but yeah.
Oh, I just can't think of I guess I just can't think of what the strong 90s chorus tones are besides the Come As You Are chorus.
That's it. That's it. Every 90s tune just tried to
But then when I think of the 80s, it's every new wave and goth.
That's why I don't like it.
So it's so you're basically you're pitting Nirvana versus Cure.
Yeah. And I'll take Nirvana in that fight every day. Collective Soul. Yeah, Collective Soul also used it, and I do love Collective Soul.
Also, these are all coming from Will, who's a synth boy.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is really throwing me off because he's naming all of these absolutely zero synth bands.
No,
but
Will is multitude. Will is not just a synth boy.
All right.
Will's a guitar guy.
That's true, but
yeah, I like chorus. And I mentioned it while you were grabbing water. I like it with super low speed, but the highest depth possible, so that it's just in the background, just subtly moving things a little.
But that's, to me, that's that's 80s chorus. I don't know.
I feel like 80s was this really pronounced effect.
Yeah, I guess even when I'm saying 80s, and then I think about what I do on bass. What I do on bass is more 70s chorus.
Oh yeah,
where it's always there and it's always barely. It's just moving the bit. No, that's more 80s. But it's the ace is replacing the bass is what I'm doing is replicating a synth bass line.
That's exactly what you're doing.
Was Cure and Police Flange? I don't. Maybe.
Yeah.
What is Flange but just chorus with a different name? I don't know.
Oh God! Now the electrical engineers are going to jump in and be like, actually.
All right. I want to talk about a thing.
Okay.
I want to talk
wait,
about.
wait. Okay, we'll do this, but then also we gotta come back to what's new with you.
Oh, there's nothing. Oh, I went to Gear Fest. I guess that's
Yeah.
new. There we brought home not a ton of swag this year.
Oh, interesting.
Honestly, we kind of like they did a thing. They did it intentionally, and I think it was a good idea. To try to I'm going to take this down for now.
Yeah.
To try to um facilitate connections better. They put together a schedule,
Oh, interesting.
and where basically every afternoon you had 2 or 3 appointments, um with vendors. And I don't know at what point like Ryan realized this. But on the first day I go, hey man, we have like these companies lined up in the afternoon. I forget which one. Dunlop was one of them. Bond Audio, which is the company that runs Supro, D'Angelico, etc., was one of
Okay.
them. I think DOD was one of them. And I was like, hey, we have these. No, Moog, whatever, however we're saying their name today, was one of them. Which is a weird appointment in general. Like, I don't know how we got on that one, but anyway, the idea is it's just to make sure like every creator spends time with every company.
That tracks.
And so I think the companies were picking creators that they wanted to work with. The creators were picking companies that they wanted to work with, so on and so forth. On the first day, Ryan looks at the itinerary and goes, yeah, we got videos to make, dude. Like not even that we had videos to make, but we kind of came in with like every day. And so folks on the channel will see this. We came in with a plan to make one, what we're calling like an easy content video, one like more of a traditional 60 cycle hum video, and then a podcast video. So actually at this point, following the channel, you've at least seen 2 of these videos on. So the I'm looking through so the drum video that Ryan made, I think that was like a low effort content, kind of just walking through the store, picking some things.
Incidentally, you're spot on that one. Why you didn't want like a physical drum? You're spot freaking on.
It cracked me up. Like, you know, you gotta play your character. But people were like, oh, Steve's lame. Like, what a killjoy, did it? But I'm just coming at it from the perspective of like, dude,
A
like
parent that wants your sanity.
yeah. So, and like, I'm like, yeah, it's summer now, man. You're gonna put up with it for a few months, but like, once you gotta like get your kids down to go to school, and he just wants to pound. I mean, I don't know. You gotta at the end of the day, like, you know, you as a parent know your kids better than anyone else does. So,
I mean,
you know,
that tracks. But anyway, I also
yeah. And then we did the podcast. So we got we did 3 podcasts while we were there.
the one with Fluff is out right now.
Yeah, and so we pretty much that was the plan, was to do these 3 videos a day, and in the process of that, like, we would try to stop everywhere we could. But you know, so we just did that. And so the first day I went through and apologized to the 3 people we were supposed to be meeting with, and said like, hey, we will stop by at some point. I actually don't think we ever stopped by Dunlop. At least I never did.
Yeah.
Which they had the MXR pedals. That was a connection I did want to try to make that we didn't, unfortunately. But otherwise, and I don't know if the person who was there from Dunlop like was, if they were a artist relations person, if they were a salesperson, like what their role was.
Right.
I don't know. So I don't, you know, I can't really say whether or not they were the right person that we needed to connect with, because we didn't meet with them, so that was bad.
You would think Gearfest, it's the right person to connect with, right?
You would think, but often they are just whoever the company already like whoever it is from the company that already works with Sweetwater.
Yeah.
That's who the person is. So a lot of times it is a product. It's a product specialist, not a social media like creative.
Right. Can you highlight Malogify's comment there about the Dunlop 65 just so we can talk about this for a second? So
You kind of sighed when this came up in the chat.
yeah, it's because I had this flashback to the like mid 2000s and early 2000s in my days back on like my first like guitar community was on forums, as a lot of people was, but a lot of people were on the Harmony Central forums. I
Yeah.
wasn't there. I was on the Seymour Duncan forums. I was on the Dr. Z forums because I had a Dr. Z at the time, and I still go to those forums every now and again. But I'm just thinking back to the mid 2000s when they used to like you'd hear the guys on there like, well, you really shouldn't use lemon oil on your fretboard because it's made from an organic material and it'll rot and make your fretboard start to stink. No, dude, that's the funk from your hands. Please clean your freaking fretboard. By the time you get lemon oil distilled down to what you buy in a store, it's not gonna rot.
Right.
So sorry.
I've
that
actually
was my moment.
I've never even heard anybody make that complaint.
Yeah, it was
I
a
know,
big thing on the forums in the 2000s.
I know there are certain oils that you like definitely don't want to use, but lemon oil is one that I've always heard. And yeah, dude, like I've seen some fretboards that, I mean, I owned a guitar, the Harmony that I owned, because I don't think my grandmother ever like took it in to the shop or anything.
Oh wow.
So when I got that thing, it was, in fact, it probably still is, because I don't think I really ever cleaned it. Because it's kind of just like, I need to maybe throw it up on the wall here. It's
Yeah.
I kind of keep it tucked because it doesn't really play.
Yeah, but
The neck is
it
actually
could.
separating a little, but
Oh, fix it. This is your chance to learn Lutherie skills.
oh my gosh.
Get that StuMac
Terrifying.
sponsorship, buy some stuff. Sassy, lemons sort of contain oil. I think they distill it down out of the peels. I don't know the full
Yeah,
process.
it's from the peels.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve, you would be the better person to answer that question.
I'm actually looking at how to make lemon oil, and it's just boiling. I think it's just boiling the peels basically, and then straining, and there you go. There's some other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is from who is this from? I don't know. It's hard. This is from Facebook user.
Yeah. Facebook user. I'm tell you what, I'm gonna pull up that window. First, I'm gonna mute Facebook.
It's probably Will. It is still Will.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people do, is like they're building up and they don't think about like how to that, like, grime is bad. Then they go, oh, and then how this grime builds up, and for reasons, not for reasons, but this grime builds up, and then all of a sudden you're like, it doesn't matter, like, are my pickups dead? Like, it doesn't matter when I put on a fresh set of strings, my guitar just sounds dead. And then you see a picture of the guitar and you're like, you're not actually fretting on the fretboard anymore, dude.
Right.
Like you're fretting on 2 or 3 millimeters of skin.
It's gross. It's so gross. I'm not like hyper diligent about it, but I clean my fingerboard at least a little bit, like wipe it down. I use finger ease instead of like actual fretboard cleaner. And I actually, wipe it down, get it real good. If I see actual physical gunk, I'll do the thing where you grab like an old, expired credit card or gift card and scrape it just a little bit. I do that every time I change strings, every single time. So
2 days says keep those petrol products off your pick guards.
Oh,
especially on acoustic guitars, they'll shrink up. I think maybe with celluloid, that's probably the case. I don't know.
Yeah, with current ABS plastic, that's not as big a deal, but that is definitely a deal with older versions of stuff. That's the other thing. All this stuff has changed over time. I'd give you an example. That 2011 Junior, that pick guard feels different than the one on the 2022. It's not dramatic, but I can tell that there's something slightly different about the material.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to go back to this.
Yeah, let's go back to
I
this.
threw it up earlier. I didn't think about this right away. This is Vinod Khosla. He is a venture capitalist. He said on Twitter a few days ago on June 29th, music won't require personal musicians in 15 years, and your favorite, quote, artist will be a personal algorithm. So you'll still have your favorite generic public celebrity musicians. By favorite generic public celebrity musicians, I almost feel like that's a dig on, like, I don't even understand what this is supposed to be a dig at, honestly. I kind of like, it's like you'll have your favorite, but I guess what you're saying is like whoever the new whoever the new Justin Bieber is, whoever the new whatever is,
yeah,
right?
I know you're avoiding the name, but the Taylor Swift, you know,
The Taylor Swift, yeah.
you're avoiding the name because I am a Taylor Swift fan. So, but that's what he's saying. I think the interesting wording here, and I'm going to get into a little bit of legalese because I have to pay attention to law way too much in my day job. I should not have to pay attention that much to law in my day job, but that's a whole other problem. Because it's like in law, there's a big difference between may and shall. If a law says so and so shall and so and so may, right?
Yeah.
If it says shall, it means you got to do that. If it says may, you can do this. It's allowed.
Okay.
It says it won't require. He doesn't say it won't have. I think it's, and not that he's writing law, but I think if we think about it in that sense, I think he's not wrong. I think that you won't be in 15 years. Just think how far we've come in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
In the next 15 years, the soda company or the beer company that needs music for their commercial, they won't have to hire musicians.
I think the stronger statement here is, music won't require personal musicians in 15 years. Music doesn't really require, like, I guess, like, by personal musicians, I assume he means, like, actual people making the music.
Yeah, that's what I assume.
Like, aside from, like, maybe some... Like, we're obviously moving towards that. That's for commercial music. That's fine. I think the part that I was like more revolted. I'm not sure if revolted is too strong of a word or if it's not a strong enough word. Is the idea that your favorite, quote, artist will be a personal algorithm.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case.
And then it says, so you'll still have your favorite generic public celebrity musicians. I responded to this on Twitter. It's actually one of the most replied to, like, not that I got a ton of replies. It got like 4 replies, right. But it's like the most responded to post on Twitter. And I kind of both proving the point and rejecting the point simultaneously. I just said, I've been thinking about this a bit. I know my imagination isn't the strongest,
right?
Because it's not. Like, I'm definitely a lot more analytical than I am imaginative, particularly in like, oh, imagine what the future is going to be like. Like, that's the Ryan and I differ on this because Ryan and I have had this conversation where we go like, could you imagine a world? And he's like, dude, I'm a graphic designer. I can imagine a lot of things.
That's true.
He goes, people are like, this will, like, no one could ever imagine this. He's like, and he's just like, try me. But I'm a lot more analytical. So, but I said, I can't picture this scenario. I don't understand how it works. And when I want to think about how it works, it just makes me want to throw on Clarity by Jimmy Eat World and stop thinking about it. Which I guess that is like fits in the favorite generic public celebrity musicians thing. But the problem to me is, like, where it says, and your favorite artist will be a personal algorithm.
Yeah.
So, like, how does that's the part of this whole statement that doesn't make sense to me. I'm not saying AI can't generate music. AI definitely will generate music, but because AI is at least right now, is just a synthesis of everything else. When you go on ChatGPT and you say, make me a song Like you can tell Chat GPT or these different AIs to like whatever make you a song, and it'll make you a
I've done
song.
it. I've done it.
Write
It'll give you chord
lyrics, whatever.
progressions, write lyrics. So I'm gonna interject here,
Sure.
and here's where I want you to, even with your analytical brain, which I'm not a detail analytical brain. We won't talk about Myers-Briggs here, pseudoscience, but yeah. I tend to be a big picture, idea kind of person, and I have to have people around me who are detail analytical people. But here's another variable to put in your analysis.
Okay.
That this guy is not talking, and I'm going to use some made up statistics here to make a point. I mean, y'all can insert the correct statistics if you happen to know it. This doesn't take into account. This isn't talking about the 5% of people that are musicians. This is not talking about the 15% of people that are like mega fans that like will book a plane ticket to travel, across the country to see their favorite band because they're not touring near them, right? This isn't talking about those people. This is the majority of people who music is an afterthought. It's the pretty wallpaper in their favorite room. You know what I mean? It's not. These are for the people that don't get goosebumps when they listen to music, which apparently not everyone gets goosebumps listening to music. I didn't know that till recently. I think he's absolutely right for a large portion of the population.
But I would argue that those people already don't have a favorite artist. So they're not listening to music with any intent.
Exactly. They're not listening to it with any intent. They're not intentional listeners.
You can't have, I would argue that you can't have a favorite artist if you don't.
Oh no, everyone has a favorite artist. No, everyone has a favorite artist.
I think if I called my kid in here right now who may or may not be asleep, I don't know. My family
don't do that.
Has like wild ass. Oh, I'm not going to. I will not throw my 13-year-old on this channel. At least not without warning. She will freak the hell out.
But yeah.
And I said, who's your favorite music artist? She would just like, especially with the camera on, she'll just blank out.
Yeah.
Like she won't.
Which is fine, but everyone has one. Everyone does have one. They'll say somebody if pressed for it, because music is pretty ubiquitous in the human experience. Everyone has music,
right?
And even if they don't pick a favorite artist, maybe they'll say, "Oh, well, I really love this song." Everyone's going to have something, even if they're not a big like really into music. Like I'm that person who's really into music, actually. So this week's podcast, it's going to go out on Thursday, just as a quick plug to the podcast that's going out Thursday, is with Alex from Copper Sound, right? I love Alex. I love Copper Sound. I know y'all do too. Well, on the Patreon episode, I've started asking this question. This week is the first week where I ask people what their favorite album is. Not favorite album, their perfect album list. Like, what are 5 perfect albums? And there's some caveats there and whatever. And Alex got really excited. Like, I didn't know this about Alex. I threw this at him with no pretext, no preconceived notion. Alex got really excited. He said, "This is really hard." He said, "Because I'm not a singles person. I don't listen to singles. I only listen to albums, like all the way through." And this doesn't apply to people like Alex. This is for the singles people. People who just like the hit that's on the radio. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess like thinking broadly, and so this is actually Ryan's comment. He says a fun idea for the future of AI music is a real-time personal soundtrack based on your current mood and environment. So
I hope that's Ryan, because that's not you. So
it's
somebody
not
else has access to your
yeah, that would be really weird. It's definitely sounds like, again, like Ryan. This is Ryan. This is exactly what I was talking about. Like, oh, like this. No one could imagine this. Like. But this makes sense to me. But this is also like, I guess we listen to music on our phones.
Yep.
If your phone has location tracking on, so your phone knows that you are in a particular location and whatever.
No. Take this a step further, because we're talking in 15 years. In 15 years, we're all wearing mood rings that actually work, that communicate via Bluetooth with our phone to let us know our emotional state, and it builds a playlist based on how we're feeling by our heart rate and our
I mean, I don't
temperature
know,
and our
man.
brain activity.
My Fitbit took a dump. I think I talked about this the last time we live streamed. My Fitbit took a dump. The band broke, and instead of
Oh.
buying more bands, I started buying watches instead. But Ryan, and along with this, it knows if you have a smartwatch, it knows your heart rate. If you have your phone, or depending on what smartwatch you have, has GPS, where it means,
Yeah.
and I think the mood building is building a playlist off of a mood that's kind of like predetermined. But that's also, like, if you think about it, that's really dangerous space, right? Like, if your device also can detect like luminosity, so you're sitting in the dark in your room and your heart and your phone tells you like, oh, you're really anxious right now, and so it's building on that, so it starts playing like, I don't know, like 9 Inch Nails when you're already in like a off kilter mental state. And some people will do that intentionally, but maybe that's not what you want your phone to be, like encouraging you to like dive deeper into like a not unstable mental
you want to be
position.
pulled out of it. You want to be pulled out of it. Well, I'm sure like there's the another application. It's on your phone. You say, oh no, that's not what I wanted. You click and it goes you the opposite direction.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we're going to worry about that kind of stuff, I mean, I literally saw a video this morning, about how companies can now use AI and your Wi-Fi hotspot to build a map and pose and make guesstimations on the pose you're in, using your Wi-Fi routing signal and AI to extrapolate data from your house and know where you are in the house, know how long you spend time in that part of your house. They can build a 3D model of your house and where you spend your time using your Wi-Fi router.
That's fun. Nice.
Yeah, isn't it?
So Matt's Tube of You says, I think what this actually means, every song will be a composite of your favorite ingredients of music, whatever you gravitate to, mix it. And so that's kind of how I took it as well, and that's why I hate it. Like that's how I read it, but I'm like, I don't want to hear like, I'm just thinking like, what have I been listening to this week? I don't want to hear like Kesha vocals on top of jangle pop.
But for some people, that's exactly what they want. And the other thing about AI
is well, like I want to listen to jangle pop when I feel like listening to jangle pop. I want to listen to Kesha when I feel like listening to Kesha. I want to listen to 9 Inch Nails when I don't want to listen to all three of those things at the same time.
Right, but so here's the thing with the analytical brain. You're thinking of it in like right now, if this technology was here, this is what it would do. But we're talking in 15 years, when it's been fed enough information, it basically 15 years from now, it will have amalgamated like the majority of music recorded in the world in 15 years. Because it's the same thing with ChatGPT. Everybody's like, oh, well, it's wrong about this. It's wrong about this.
And it's building, and we know that
it's actually starting to reference itself, which is a problem.
But hey, we know that it's what, unless you're paying for it, it's 2 years behind real time. Like it doesn't scour like current news, something like that.
Yep. Also, Joe, yes, it's incredibly creepy. It creeped me out big time this morning.
Oh, hey, David Ross musical. Let's run this first.
Yeah. It's incredibly creepy, but it is a real technology, and that's the side effect. We're way past the stage of the quote from Jurassic Park, where scientists are so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they never stop to think whether or not they should. We're way past that point. We're into the adapt and overcome phase of technology being way too invasive. That's personal. That's my opinion.
Oh, weird. When I type in,
you type as me.
Yeah, it's in the StreamYard. The StreamYard, the way it interacts with.
You want to know why? Because I approve.
I have it set to all. I have it set to all destinations. I probably should just have it set to me, but
yeah. I approved mine so that I could respond live in the chat. So
I did want to say special shout out to David Ross because the spell book
Yeah.
was just finished, his pedal. The Kickstarter is completed. They are shipping this week. I believe mine is shipping this week, so I should be getting it
Oh, nice.
at some point. I don't
I
know. I
I
don't
did
keep track of the mail.
I did not order one because I am trying to rein in my finances, by buying spur of the moment Les Paul Juniors. But I liked the snowstorm. Snowstorm. David, what was the name of the pedal? It has snow on the front. I played it. It was great. Anyway,
It is called the
Winter Storm.
Okay.
That's it.
Winter Storm. Oh, and I also bought a did we talk about this? I talked about this with somebody. I bought a Greer Super Hornet. I talked about that with you, right?
Yeah, you did. We talked about that because I really want one, but I'm again trying not to spend some money, but I did. So we're not going to go like way into detail, but the Greer folks could use support if you want to buy something from them. They're about to have a kid, and actually, I guess it's relatively public. But anyway, you can go search it out. I'm not going to say it all. I ordered. I did order a T-shirt and a coffee mug to support them.
Yeah,
So highly recommend.
Yeah, there's some corporate possible shenanigans involved.
Yeah, exactly. And I
it's
won't call out
a tough situation.
I won't call out the company, even though I know what the company
Oh,
is.
you actually know the company because I don't.
Dude, you cannot. I will not rest until I know who to call out. I won't call them out since Nick didn't.
Okay,
but
fair.
I do know. I'm sharing. There's a link for Greer merch if you want to go support them. Even if you can't buy a pedal from them right now, a T-shirt's a really easy way. Steve, I'm going to send you a message on Facebook so that you can know who it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you know who that is now. It's corporate shenanigans, right sizing a company, whatever. It's garbage is what it is. Absolute freaking garbage.
Yeah. That's yeah. Oh, is that not even public news?
It is. It was on his Facebook and on a story on Instagram. So I mean that's pretty public. But I feel uncomfortable sharing personal stuff.
Yeah,
like that, right?
that's fine. I get that, and that's
NJ, you need to buy a Junior. Everyone should play or own, and not. It doesn't have to be a Gibson. If you're not a Gibson fan, that's fine. Everyone should have or have played a bridge pickup P90 only guitar because there is something so rock and roll about having one option and just learning to use the volume and tone knob to get all the sounds you want. I gigged a Junior. I play slide on it typically, but I think they're incredible guitars and can teach you a lot about sculpting tones. Now, a DC Les Paul Junior, good luck finding one. Good luck, because there's not a double cut Les Paul in the current Gibson offerings, period. Doesn't exist.
There is a Gibson custom 1958 Les Paul double cut at Sweetwater for $4,000.
Yeah, $4,000. You got to go custom shop. The Rick Beato was great because it was at least a double cut dual P90, but it was a limited run. Yeah. So anyway,
Harley Benton's got them for $180.
Well, this is where I recommend they discontinued the they discontinued it, but you can still find them on Reverb because I had one, a Les Paul Tribute double cut with P90, and it's a pretty good guitar. And they were much cheaper before they discontinued them.
Oh, those are those $800 ones that they made.
Yep, they were really good. But they don't, they don't make them anymore. So actually, I just looked it up. You can still find one. Here's one for $765.
Yeah,
local in New Jersey. Yeah,
but there's still there is one for $800 plus
Yeah.
$100 shipping.
Yeah, and that's a single pickup one. They do accept offers though. So anyway,
so yeah.
yeah, highly recommend those. I had one and it played great. It just ultimately I like the single cutaway style better personally. That's just me.
So something I didn't
Hold on. I love the idea.
Yeah.
Because I know Joe, I genuinely love that someone is blaming Joe for their Gibson obsession. This is beautiful to me.
They must have seen that video of her playing that. Was
The
it an
Bluebirds?
ES
Yeah,
339, 335? I don't remember.
I think it was a 339. Bluebirds 339.
Let's see.
Joe.
Hero Glop asks, what do you think about Mustang bass, particularly the Squire Classic Vibe? I'm trying to remember which one that is. Let me grab a Mustang bass.
Yeah, you got a picture of one. And also which Mustang bass, because there's a couple of pickup variations on the Mustang bass.
So this is what comes up when I look it up. This is the 60s Mustang bass. I think I have played one of these in shop. Not in a while. They have like the tiny little tic-tac pickups.
Yeah.
They're every classic vibe bass I've picked up has been like a great playing bass.
Yep.
Or at least
you and I have
capable,
matching ones.
and of course you and I have matching ones. Oh, and now you have the is that the Rascal? You have the Rascal now too.
Get this.
Is that that's paranormal, right?
Yeah, this is the Paranormal Series. Get this. Like, okay, so one of the beauties of this one compared to some short scales, if you want a smaller bass, period, don't get this one. Because this is a short scale bass, but it's not
full body.
Yeah, it's a full body because they just moved the bridge from down here, down here to up here. So that's where they shortened it by 4 inches. This is still a full size bass. It's as big as my jazz bass or my P bass, but it has that short scale tension and sound. Also, these humbuckers are super cool.
Yeah. Whereas the Mustang bass is going to be a 30-inch scale, particularly with these where is it? This split single coil. These, in my experience, now I don't know for the classic vibes, but just my experience with these in general, they tend to be a bit they tend to be like they are small pickups, they play small. They're a very like kind of a lower output pickup. They sound fine. It's not that they sound bad, it's just that they're not like your typically like aggressive like P bass or whatever pickup. I like Mustang basses as like a throw around bass. Like I probably should. I feel like I should own one, and not throw around like in like a destructive sense, but just in that like they're a lot of fun because they're small in every dimension.
Well, they also make the there's the Fender Mustang bass, the import one, the import, the made in Mexico, that's a PJ.
Yeah. So that would be the Player Mustang. It's a bit more. I would say, given this, if you're mainly a guitar player, you have a P bass, because of full scale, full body, whatever. If you're looking for just something that's like a beat around, go with the classic Vibe Mustang. That's going to give you the small body, small scale, everything. If you're looking for something that's maybe a little more serious of an instrument, that's unfair. But I guess like something a little more modern, I guess. And I think the Mustang PJ, but of course, again, this is like what, twice, this is $850. The other one is $429. So it's like double the cost.
Yeah, exactly.
That you're looking at. Joe says, is it short scale? They are both short scale.
Oh yeah, and you can get 10% off your order at Fender if you use their code.
Which I just rejected.
Yeah, you did. That's fine. I actually, so I was gonna buy when I bought that Squire, which I bought with my own money because Fender doesn't send me anything. That's okay. I mean, neither here nor there.
lately Fender hasn't been sending much of anything to anyone.
That's
So.
true, exactly. I bought that. So I looked at the Fender site, right, and was gonna buy
Mhm.
from there because I had the 10% off coupon, but I went on Reverb and I watched a bunch of them, and one of them sent me an offer, so I countered the offer, and they ended up giving me the same price as if I was buying with the discount from Fender, but I got to support a small shop, so I appreciated that. So always recommend supporting the small shop if you can, even if they made like $40 off the sale.
There's a lot going on in the chat today. Sterling
Yeah.
Joe says the Sterling short scale is a little cheaper than the it is a little cheaper. It's $600 for the
I
short scale Stingray.
I think I think Sterling makes great basses. I think those Music Man Sterlings are now. There was a day when I would have told you I don't think their quality control is there.
Dang, Michael Kraus says the Rascal is bigger than the Sire 5-string.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch his video on it, but I should have. Yeah, it's a big bass, and I'm a big dude, so I appreciate a full-size
Yeah.
bass. I don't want to look like I'm playing ukulele bass. Harold Glop says, or Hero says, I like Rascal too, but I want secondhand prices. I get that.
Yeah,
I totally
that's
get that.
fair.
Now, here's the deal. I don't know how long this paranormal series is going to last. That's why I went ahead and bought one. If you want a secondhand one, be on the lookout now for somebody who got one, maybe isn't digging it and wants to sell it. Because my suspicion is it's going to do what the other paranormal series guitars have done, and that in a year or two after they stop making them, the price is going to go up above new pricing. That's me speculating entirely. I mean, the entire gear market is down right now, so
okay. I saw this news the other day, but I didn't dive into it. This is a Swami John Reese posted this. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but Rick Froberg passed away this past week. This is might be I don't know. I don't want to say it's outside of your what you do or don't know, but Rick Froberg was the front man for Drive Like Jehu and Hot Stinks, which are both pretty. Particularly, Drive Like Jehu was one of the bigger post-hardcore, whatever you want to call it, outfits in the 90s.
yeah.
But early on, but yeah, Swami John Reese. I don't know how to describe Swami. Ryan, I'll leave that one to Ryan if he's still watching to put something in the chat. Yeah, this is I saw this posted, but I didn't. This is the first time I'm actually seeing an article about. Sometimes you listen to bands. John Reese, Swami was in the band Rocket from the Crypt as well. But sometimes you see a thing and it must mean something because a lot of people are posting about it, but
Yeah.
you just never get around to looking it up for yourself. So,
It's definitely outside my area of listening. I do like that he was playing a harmony in the picture.
yeah,
I love harmony guitars. Harrow, you say about the NATO body and Indian Laurel fretboard. I mean, we're at a stage where you've got to sort of we think of certain woods as cheap, and maybe they are, but they can still work. Like I have a boutique builder guitar that's made out of basswood. And, we used to think of basswood as cheap, but it's just like any other wood. It can run the gamut of good and bad. So, the cheap stuff is typically not good, but there is an expensive variant of it.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that the way woods and the way we think about woods.
Yeah. Think about this. In the Norland era of Gibson, when they were cutting costs, they made necks out of maple to cut costs.
Yeah. Also, I'm looking at this. What the Mustang Classic 5 Mustangs are made out of Nyado, which is actually different than NATO.
Okay.
According to Wikipedia, NATO is a collective name for wood from the mora tree. Nyado is the trade name for a hardwood from the Palaquium and Piena trees. I mean, they're all, I think, potentially, the Mora tree is grown. Actually, the Mora tree. So NATO is a Caribbean hardwood. Nyado is a Southeast Asian
It's a
hardwood.
Filipino, New Guinea.
Um,
I looked it up as well because I have to know these things.
yeah. I mean, it's still like I think there is definitely a mentality, and David Ross pulls up Paul Gilbert's signature guitar is basswood. He thinks, and that this is a whole thing. Like, a few, Fender Japan has been making guitars out of basswood for decades. I think one of my, if you kind of like get stuck in that headspace, a lot of the and it's funny because some of them they've like now they call them different names, but a lot of like the higher end Ernie Ball products or Music Man,
yeah, they're made out of basswood. Well, Paul says a lot of stuff. I've genuinely come to love Paul. I just love hearing him talk. He's ridiculous. Well, so here's an interesting, different view on the whole wood debate. We think of certain woods as tone woods, right? And I'm not going to go into the Paul debate. I'm not going to go into the tone wood or not tone wood. Here's the deal. When solid body electric guitars started getting built, they originally built them out of the same woods they were building acoustic guitars out of.
right.
So that was the wood that was commonly associated with building guitars. Well, we've learned that electric guitar is a different animal. It can be built out of other things. No one's building an acoustic guitar out of basswood. Maybe someone is, but not the major, acoustic builders. So when we start talking about the wood that guitars are made out of, the woods we used were woods that were available on the American market easily. And they were in plentiful supply, like, for example, swamp ash, which
Right.
apparently the majority of Fender's swamp ash came from Mississippi, right here. But there's been, an infestation of this green boring beetle that makes it's killing swamp ash and making it unavailable. Other woods are sometimes cheaper, not because they're less quality, but because they're just in higher supply.
Yeah.
There's a lot more of it available. Laurel is a great wood for guitars, and it's very replenishable faster than rosewood. We just think of it as lesser because people used it as a substitute. Stevie Ray Vaughan's #1 Strat had a Laurel fretboard.
Yeah. I'm looking at a 2019 article from Music Man talking about why they use basswood, and they say that they use it often on instruments with maple caps, though not always. So the Majesty uses basswood. The JP6 is the Majesty is basswood with a maple cap. The JP6 is a all basswood. I don't know I think the necks are still something else.
Sure. Probably maple. Probably.
The Axis guitars are basswood with a maple cap, and the bongo is just all basswood body. So, and this is kind of goes for like a lot of brands. Basswood classically is, from what I recall, or is it basswood? I'm gonna keep saying
it's basswood. It's basswood.
I've
gone down this rabbit hole.
I know when I first started reading a lot about, and then I stopped reading because it's dumb. Reading a lot about woods and what they are supposed to sound like.
Yet the earliest Telecasters were pine.
They were all the whole thing was about how basswood is kind of like a deader mahogany. And the main complaint with it was that you didn't see it during like when nitro was the common, because basswood is very soft.
Right.
Even though it's back there, even though it is coated in ultra thick polyurethane, my jack staying dents very easily because it's basswood, and that basswood it's a very soft basswood.
Yeah.
But the reality is that it's a neutral, maybe a slightly more neutral mahogany is the reputation. Some people, and that goes back, like we talked about, someone mentioned like that the early gems earlier, where was it? Ian Johnston says weren't early gems basswood. I think that is
That
accurate,
is correct.
because a lot of Japanese guitars were basswood, and I
Because
think
basswood was available to them,
right.
and it was a mahogany substitute.
And so I do wonder how much of that reputation of basswood being like a deader wood is really just that Japanese electronics during this time period tended to just not be the sound, when you compare to Fender American pickups that people were
Also,
expecting.
I'm gonna throw this out there. It's tied to perceptions of cultures, and Asian
Mhm.
guitars were typically perceived as cheap, regardless of the wood they were made out of. They could have been made out of mahogany, and we'd still perceive them as cheap.
Right.
But since a lot of them were made out of what they had available, which was basswood, we assumed basswood was a cheap, bad wood for guitars. And we're still coming out of that. A couple of things in the chat. Sassy Novos are pine mostly. They have started working with some other woods. I have an ash Novo, and I do know they're using some other woods in their semi-hollow builds now.
I think the other thing that's interesting is there are these kind of like
Ian nailed it. Zero fret problem.
I don't know what's the zero fret problem.
People perceive zero frets as a cheap way to build guitars because import guitars came with a zero fret. Zero fret is actually, if you really get down to it, it's a really good way to build a guitar that has consistent action across the entire fretboard, because you're not using the nut as the height guide for the guitar anymore. It's just a guide for the strings to flow correctly across the fingerboard. You're using a zero fret instead. In fact, I'll be honest, a stainless steel zero fret on guitars would probably make a lot of them a lot more playable.
Gotcha. I had a thought, but I forgot what it was. Talking about these different woods. When I looked at Ernie Ball Music Man, what came up was, the first one I looked at was the Cutlass.
Yeah.
The Cutlass is a $3,000 model. It is alder. So I think we tend to think about these things in a I guess a backwards sense, right? Like we think about these woods that we've never heard of, like NATO or Neato, or things that sound a little like, what the hell is that? I don't think I've ever seen that in a forest, like basswood. And we go like, well, that's weird. So it's either, if it's got like a weird name like Weng or Ovang or Ovonkel or something, we go like, oh wow, that sounds exotic. But then if it's like, something else, we go like, oh well, that sounds weird.
Yeah.
But why is, the question I think we often don't ask is, why is it that, an Ernie Ball, and obviously there's the reason for, it's manufacturing, it's a lot of other things, but alder is used at all price points. Ernie Ball, $3,000, but also the Fender Player Series Stratocasters are alder body. It's $900. So the wood is wood, and that's not accounting for grades of wood, and there's a lot of other directions you can go, but I think it does say something to where the prices. Now, Harold Glop earlier did say, apart from quality, woods have different prices. Companies use different woods for different reasons, and it's true. They don't lower prices.
Yeah,
no one's ever going to lower their price.
I'll talk about that just a little bit. Gibson did, but that's a whole other ball game. So, But with alder, Leo Fender used alder. So
Mm-hmm.
we still think of alder as a good tone wood. So it's still acceptable because it was the alternative to ash at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the whole Gibson comment, because I don't want to just throw it in there and not mention it. When they named JC the CEO, first thing he did was reduce the price on all Gibson models. They actually lowered the price when they,
Really?
yeah. Because the
Yeah.
Gibson Les Paul Standard in 2017, 2018, when it still had the dip switches and the weird finishes, whatever year that was.
Right.
Those of you that have seen the Rhett Shull video that basically made his channel, WTF Gibson, when they took all that away and took it back to, standard pots,
Mm-hmm.
2 pickups, 3-way switch, no dip switches, they lowered all of the prices because the Les Paul Standard at that time was $3,500, and they lowered it to $2,499. So Gibson did. But I know that because I'm a Gibson fanboy. I'm sure other companies might have as well. So when they change the woods because certain things are more sustainable, and then maybe
Mm-hmm.
regulations go back because that wood is no longer maybe as endangered as it was. I can't speak for any given situation without knowing that situation. Sometimes they don't switch back because they realize this is more environmentally sound.
Mm-hmm.
Also, by the time they switch back, inflation's a real thing. And I'm not just talking about, COVID inflation.
Right.
It doesn't make sense for them to drop the price back to the original price because now the price has caught up with inflation to the cheaper wood. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
use air quotes cheaper because obviously we're realizing there's a lot of weird things that go into the pricing of wood. But 3, the price of wood is generally not the biggest price in building a guitar.
Right. No, it's
just not.
just straight labor.
Yeah, it's labor. 100% it's labor. So the labor prices don't change. And Sassy Rich Light is a great alternative to ebony.
Who's using Rich Light these days?
Gibson did for a while. Or they used ebonite, which I think was also a
Is that
Rich
just
Light.
like a rebranding?
I think I know. This is where I don't know. You can find more, but synthetic ebony is great. I've never had a problem with it.
When I look up ebonite, all that comes up is bowling balls.
That sounds right too. Also, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is Rich Light I'm thinking of, and I'm throwing ebonite out there because I used to bowl and I know the term. But yeah,
Ebonite is what I found some threads with it, but they're talking about, but not a lot.
yeah. So, but
Not a lot of conversation about it.
I think it's a great thing builders are looking into alternative woods.
Ebonol.
That's it. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Thank you, David.
This was in that same time period. I'm trying to find. Apparently, Kramer was using ebonol as well.
It's a synthetic material that derives its appearance, hardness, and stability to ebony wood. Yep. Okay. See also Rich Light and Micarta.
So this article, all I'm finding is a lot of forum things where like they talk about Rich Light being used by Gibson. This is kind of like, it's actually kind of an interesting thing to think about Rich Light versus ebony. And the classic Gibson ebony fretboard is just the black fretboard, right? Like I have one of those. It's very black. It's funny because in photos I feel like ebony and rosewood always look really similar, but then you see them in person and realize like they could not be further apart.
This is
Joe.
This is ebony. Bye, Joe. This is ebony.
Yeah. And they feel, rosewood and ebony feel very different, but it makes sense that
I think ebony feels more like maple.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. If it makes more sense from an aesthetic perspective for Gibson to pivot to something like ebonol or ebonite, like these synthetics,
Rich Light,
or Rich Light, which is like a Rich Light is just a fancy word for MDF, right? No.
well, Rich Light, I think if I remember correctly, is like It's recycled materials and
Yeah.
epoxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Richlight is just paper. Your fretboard's made out of paper. But it makes sense to keep the aesthetic, but it would be kind of interesting for Gibson to, and maybe they have, and I just haven't seen it, to kind of jump on the Taylor train and make some models using just ebony that's like not selected for blackness.
Yeah. I'm really surprised more builders haven't started doing that. Well, actually,
I know
again,
Taylor has, obviously, because Taylor is the pioneer in that field,
yeah.
for lack of a better word.
Well, I know
Martin has
a
some
lot of
for
companies
some.
went through a series of builds where they did like a Smartwoods series.
Yeah.
Gibson had one. I know PRS had
Gibson's done it a
one.
couple times.
Yeah, where they used more sustainable woods or different woods that were just more easily to replenish, or maybe they were more available. They don't sell well because guitarists are a traditional lot. That's the hard part for it. It's like they'd love to, but also they don't want to kill their company in the process. I think that's where we're in a good place, though. There's so many new companies popping up here and there that there's so many opportunities to do something different and not be treading on your tradition or your
Yeah.
history. Both Gibson really has the problem with tradition, but I know that Fender also has an issue with if they go too far away from their traditional models, they lose sales. And so I think with all of the new companies popping up, there's more and more opportunity to explore, like someone like a Novo that's doing Pine. Like they get to do what they want to do and not have to worry about it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's I think we're getting to a point definitely where and Basil,
I
don't
said
know.
Basil, but yeah.
Yeah, this is yeah, companies do create markets. That's
Yeah.
That's definitely true too. But I'm looking at like Strandberg uses Richlight on a $2,500 guitar. And actually, if anything, it's interesting is I think for these new materials, you kind of have, or these like novel materials, it's almost like you have two different working directions. You have companies that switch to this material because it's cheaper and they don't think about it hard enough. They just switch and they go to town. But you also have companies like a Strandberg who's going to it's a very expensive instrument and they're trying to find ways to tool this material to work with this material without like increasing their interior labor costs. Also, holy hell, this is a 4-pound, 15-ounce guitar that I'm looking at.
Also, Strandberg uses like, I don't know, 6 ounces of wood in your building. So,
but it's, it's just the whole thing where like they've like really thought it out. So I feel like you either see Richlight on like the cheapest guitars because people are just slapping shit together and they want the consistency of like something cheap. But you also have like Strandberg. So it's who you go like, oh well, if this company, this very modern company, Instant Charlie kind of brings it up, is this problem that these companies don't have balance. This is the thing I've said over and over again with the Gibson 2015, 2016, whatever, 2014, whatever the hell year it was.
2015, when they tried to put all the robo-tuners on every model instead of saying, hey, here's an option.
Yeah. They should have I still stand by that only the high performance series should have had robot tuners.
Agreed.
Everything else should have been standard.
And I've talked to people who worked for Gibson during some of that time period. Here's the biggest problem that I hate to hear. Also 2015, they also changed to those brass nuts that they used that were effectively like a nut and 0 fret all in one.
Right.
The material that the company they got them from, the material was too soft.
Mm.
Now Tusk makes an alternative for those years, so you can put like a synthetic bone nut on them
Oh, really?
directly. It's a direct retrofit. I only looked because I had a guy who was interested in selling me a 2015 Firebird, because I'm on this Firebird journey. I got to
Mhm.
sell some things, but so you can get them. The 2015 guitars themselves take away the zero fret, the weird brass fret, and
Right.
the robo tuners were actually well built guitars. Like the people that work
Yeah.
at Gibson who don't work there anymore and have no
Is that me or you?
guitars that had a couple of problems, marketing aside and like cost aside.
Yeah.
But yeah, the robo tuners should not have been on every model. The dip switches inside the control cavity should not have been on every model. The zero fret nuts, those weird brass nuts, should not have been on every model. And then they would have done better, which is what they're doing now. They have a high performance series. It does not
Mhm.
sell like the traditional series does. And same thing, Fender does the same thing. Look at them doing
Yeah.
things like the Paranormal series and the weird things, but they still keep their very traditional offerings.
Yeah. Sassy says people who complain about American guitar prices thinks employees are paid like Chinese, Korean, and Indonesian ones. To an extent, obviously our cost of living is a lot different here.
Yep.
I will say that there are a lot of complaints. Complaint is the wrong word because I think it's accurate. And I don't know what we do about it. Like, without, can you? I'm trying to temper what I want to say.
Yeah.
Uh, my understanding is that for the most part, American guitar manufacturers, at least the big ones, so we're talking about Fender. Fender is the one I know about the most,
Yeah.
and I don't know a ton from what I've heard. Gibson, probably, well, those are your two major, I guess. Martin, PRS, I don't know how they
Martin,
pay as much.
PRS, Ernie Ball.
But I can at least say that for Fender and I believe Gibson, they do not pay a living wage for those guitars. So they pay, actually, and let's see if I can, because in the state of California now, you have to you're supposed to list your what you pay,
Sure.
I believe, on the application. Maybe it's not on the application.
Oh.
Maybe you just have to ask. It's a thing where you have to ask. So, because I'm not seeing it on immediately on here, wage, hourly pay scale. Vendor is required by certain jurisdictions to include pay scale. So the current pay scale for this is a job that's just called factory floor. The pay scale range is $28,000 to $56,000. $56,000 in Corona, California so that's the absolute top end. That means you have experience. $56,000, you can probably maybe split a 2-bedroom apartment if you find another person who is making $56,000. And
Yep.
these are to make, what's the cheapest American Fender guitar right now? Like 16, 17, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I'm looking at
$28,000, you should be, hopefully you either married rich or you are, you still live with your family or something.
whereas I found the Gibson employment opportunities page. Obviously because they have 3 different places you can work: California, Montana, or Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I think only the California places list salary range.
Right.
For a human resources business partner, I don't know what that means. Like, they have a couple other facilities management. This is all for Mesa Boogie, right?
Oh, okay.
So the HR person is 80 to 100,000 a year.
Yeah.
Which is probably closer to a livable wage in Petaluma, California. closer.
I don't know what Petaluma
Me either. I can't imagine it's
is
cheap.
these days. But let's see the HR range. Fender has a senior HR business partner available, and the range is $74,000 to $150,000.
Woo, that's a big range.
But that's for his senior HR. That's the problem with all of these ranges is they are massive.
Yeah, that's
and
a
it and
big
it's so that
range.
it's so they can handle. Again, there's California law that is requiring that you disclose what your pay range is.
Yep.
That's also for that part of that is for internal employees. So if an internal employee is interested in a position, they can know, hey, if I take this position, what will it be? Will it be a higher paid position than what I'm in now? Versus because what has, I don't want to say it's what has been. I don't know. It's definitely what has been happening.
Sure.
Is if I go from my job and I go like, oh, I want to go into project management. Does it pay more? Does it pay less? Well, maybe if they're hiring an outside project manager, they have to pay more. But because I already have an established wage, they can say like, oh no, this position is actually the same pay scale as your current position. So we're not going to pay you more to take this new position.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying my company would or wouldn't do that. They probably, I don't really know. I mean, the reality is that like our we've been very up and down with our openings, but I can say that like there's definitely let's see, we have an open position at my company right now. Do they disclose?
While you mentioned that, Gibson also offers in Petaluma, California, a materials manager position that does require at least a bachelor's degree and 10 years of material handling equipment operation experience. That is a salary of $95,000 to $125,000.
I don't even see a wage listed for some of the new positions at my company, so I don't know if that means we're not compliant with California law, or
does your company extend outside of California?
We do, but these are all positions for California.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, the Montana positions with Gibson don't list a wage, so I'm assuming that that's California regulation. That if it's in California,
it definitely is. I don't know how. Maybe there's like loops to it that Again, I don't really know.
I'd love to know. I'd love to see the actual salary range.
Who is this? That Michael Krause says, is that the guy who drives over the guitars? And yeah, the cost of living is a mess. And that's what I'm saying, like $56,000 building guitars in Montana is probably fine. But again, that's like top end. I don't know what 56,000 or 28,000 looks like in Nashville. I suspect it's not great because I know Nashville's been on the rise, but I don't know. I have no idea.
Let's find out. This is what we're here for. I'm going to do a cost of living analysis between Petaluma, California, and Nashville.
This is a thing?
Oh yeah, dude, we use these all the time. There's a cost of living analysis. So, let me look. I got to find the right. Okay, to live in Nashville, cost of living change, it is 27.8% cheaper to live in Nashville than Petaluma, California. And the estimated salary difference based on average salaries is only 16.1% cheaper in Nashville. So
this is Mesa Boogie, right?
Well, I'm just looking at just cost of living.
Pure right. But Petaluma is where
that's where Mesa Boogie is. That's where Mesa.
I realized that they were in the Bay.
Yeah. That's where they started. Well, that's where they moved to. They were in a slightly different area when he was still building out of like a home shop kind of thing.
Okay.
But then they moved to Petaluma very early in the branding of Mesa Boogie.
Gotcha.
And so Gibson hasn't moved them. That doesn't make financial sense.
Right.
I mean, it may make financial sense at some point. So yeah, It is cheaper to live in Petaluma, in Nashville than Petaluma.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it technically defaulted to Palmdale, which I guess is the next nearest large city that it had data for.
That's weird because Palmdale is.
Is
So
that
it's
far
saying
off?
that Palmdale is cheaper than
No. Nashville is cheaper to live in by 27.8%, but
Palmdale.
but the salary average only goes down by 16.1%. So you're net making more money to live and work in Nashville than to live and work in Palmdale, California.
Palmdale's a shithole.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, I can insert San Diego if you'd like.
I mean, San Diego might be a better comparison to Petaluma. I'm saying like because Palmdale is like a high desert, middle of nowhere.
Sure. Okay, so Nashville is 31.4% cheaper than San Diego.
Yeah.
But there's only a 13.6% decrease in salary to live in Nashville. So you're going to net, I mean, if I'm doing simple napkin math here, you're going to net 18% salary in your pocket moving to Nashville for the same job.
So you're saying I should move to Nashville?
I am absolutely saying you should move to Nashville.
My job doesn't exist in Nashville.
It might. Nashville's a growing metropolitan area, man.
Yeah, my job kind of exists in might exist in North Carolina.
Okay, North Carolina is not Nashville.
No, I know.
Yeah,
well, this would have been Research Triangle.
Oh, sure. So, anyway, this is a whole other ball game.
Yeah, sorry.
Guitars, and it is something to keep in mind that where something is built matters.
Yeah.
Because the salary ranges change and all those kinds of things. For example, there's a company that I won't name who's been talking to my sister about possibly, doing like an artist deal for her, right? And so I've been looking at the prices of their guitars, and it's a guy who builds, by all accounts, really, really good, really great guitars out of Texas. And his custom build guitars, like one-off custom build, like not from a cookie cutter or CNC, they're like between $2K and $2.5K.
Yeah.
Good luck finding that out of a builder in California. I mean, just good luck. You can't, it's hard to find, pro level American guitars. Why is Harrow hidden?
Sassy apparently fat fingered his phone.
Oh no.
Okay, it's a timeout. Instant Charlie is hidden. Instant Charlie is unhidden. Harrow's just gonna have to be on timeout. There's nothing I can do about it for another. Well, it's 300 seconds. So what is that? Like 5 minutes? 5 minutes.
Yeah. Sorry, Harrow.
So
your moderator's drunk. So
with power. No, I don't know. He says he's just fat fingers phone. I do want to say, topically, I was gonna throw this out earlier. If anyone has any
show and tells.
Oh my god. No, if anyone has any Gearfest questions, I'll take your Gearfest questions. Matt's Tube of You is in Hemet, so Matt lives like half an hour from me, maybe closer depending on traffic. Actually, I drove to Hemet a few days ago, or couple weeks ago. I think it was 17 minutes. And there's like 7 Starbucks in this town who says the job market isn't booming. The problem is the 7 Starbucks is the job market.
Yeah, exactly. Matt, I live in a college town that's tiny, and we've got like 8 different coffee shops, and 2 of them are Starbucks, and it's like tiny Mississippi town. Starbucks is everywhere. It's overdone.
No.
Don't judge your town's economy by the number of Starbucks. Please don't.
I'm looking at what is on what comes up as pictures for Hemet, and it's very amusing because they're not the things that I've pictured in my head for Hemet. They're all just pictures of Diamond Valley Lake.
See, I don't know anything about California. Like, I've only been to California the one time when my band had some shows in Los Angeles area.
Michael Krause says, besides Phillip, who should have been at Gearfest?
Oh, thank you, Michael. You were too kind.
Gearfest, who should have been? I don't know. Gearfest is very affiliate driven.
Yep.
From what I understand, they basically are bringing in the folks who drive their internal, not 100%, but definitely that's a big part of it.
I talked to a couple of other people who are influencers who have way more visibility than I do. And yeah, it was a weird conversation. I asked them about it, and
Mhm.
it was like they were offered to be able to come, but like Sweetwater wasn't going to pay their way, and that's
Oh,
okay too. I mean,
interesting.
that's a thing. I get it. But, I'm not on Sweetwater's radar as far as I'm aware of, which is fine. Like I do my thing. I really enjoy the place I've carved in this market, in this whole thing, and I'm trying to, do a little more of the YouTube thing. But it's I didn't get as excited. I mean, I had some FOMO, obviously. I
Mhm.
had some serious FOMO. I wish I was there. It looked rad. I mostly because I just wanted to hang out with folks because, uh but I don't know. I didn't get the vibe from it this year I got last year. That's as someone outside looking in. It didn't
Mm.
seem as exciting as last year's.
Interesting. I think there were some things that so when Ryan starts putting his video together, um so one of the things, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, that was talked about a lot is and I think Sweetwater, I think the experience for creators was better this year than last year. I think maybe the content is still kind of rolling out.
Mhm.
One thing that this year was a lot more metal.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I did see,
Um,
oh, there's Harrow.
yeah,
Who does the I'm gonna be sad that I can't remember it. Somebody who's got the metal channel, he's where's glasses?
Kyle Bull.
Kyle Bull, thank you. I love Kyle's channel. I saw he was there, so I was
Yeah,
really glad he was
he
there.
was there. Agu Fish was there. Andrew Bana and Johnny. Cannot pronounce his last name, from the band Carcosa, but they both have like a lot going on socials. Were there a lot of like, and they're like, I don't even know how they told me this is like a thing where I guess like how bands define themselves. Carcosa is a Canadian deathcore band. I don't know what deathcore is. They were featured in Forbes magazine 2 years ago as extreme metal's breakthrough TikTok band. Again, I don't know
I don't get those
I
TikToks,
don't know
so
what those mean.
yeah, me either.
Um, but there's so there was definitely like a lot. And that's what I mean by metal. Like I would say like uh folks like Kyle Bull, the Andrew, Johnny, they're like modern metal versus like last year we had like Robert Baker, folks like that who
Yeah,
are Ben Eller, who are kind of like couched in
classic rock-ish.
classic rock, like that 80s metal. They're
What's
gonna break out your Metallica riffs, but they're not gonna break out your
Olivia
whatever.
riffs, yeah.
Exactly.
Wait, was Robert Baker not there this year?
Robert Baker was there this
Okay,
year.
good, good, good.
Yeah.
I was curious. I like Robert. Robert's gonna be a guest on the podcast here real soon, so that's gonna be a
There
lot
was
of fun.
there was definitely like a broader I don't know if we had, like, thinking back, I think it was only American creators last year.
I don't
Um
remember, so
this year, definitely, I mean, from yeah, like Henning was there, obviously from Europe. He
right.
brought Carlos from Guitar Rivia, I think is the name of his channel, who's I think in Brazil. Ryan would know, but I think he's out of Brazil. There's a handful of Canadian, Landon Bailey, the Carcosa, again, Andrew Bana and Johnny. They're from Vancouver. Um, there are a
I'm
few other
woefully
people from Canada.
I'm woefully out of
Oh,
touch.
Glenn Fricker was there, of
Oh,
course.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it expanded out a lot this year.
I'm way out of touch with my non-American, non-UK, uh,
Hmm.
guitar media people.
So the thing that were there other creators that should have been there?
You know what?
Probably, but
Jeremy Shepherd should have been there. I don't understand why Jeremy Shepherd wouldn't have been there. That's a
Emily,
Guitar Hunter.
yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know what his I know Jeremy, I think he follows the 60 Cycle Hum channel, but I
Yeah,
don't know uh how much. I don't know if he works with Sweetwater. I mean, like I
he
said, that's
does.
kind of like
He's an affiliate with Sweetwater.
okay.
Um,
Yeah, so
may
yeah,
I don't know, maybe he was extended the invitation and he couldn't. I don't know, but
I mean, and that's always the possibility too.
because
We
there's
don't
people
we don't
like
know.
Andrew Masters who is like more of a studio channel than
Yeah,
he is like a guitar channel. He works with Sweetwater. I didn't see him there. So it's one of those
yeah.
things.
And that's the thing, it's like they expanded like a lot of different. I actually felt like there were less DJ. I don't know if there were any DJs this year.
Oh,
Um
interesting.
but I know there were like a few producers, some drummers.
Speaking of an entire
I think
segment of the market I don't
drummers
know.
in production of drummers, excuse me, and producers, there were definitely more of them
Yeah.
this year. Um excuse me. There Matt's Tube of You says was Emily Hopkins there. There were no harp players that I was aware of at Gear Fest.
So
Um
I'm gonna throw this out about Emily, who I absolutely adore. I'm over there in her Discord as well, though I'm not super active over there. Look, it's hard enough keeping up with my own Discord server, let alone
hmm,
other people's. Um, Incidentally, there's a Discord server for 40 Watt Podcast. If you want to come hang
mhm.
out over there, there is one for 60 Cycle Hum as well. I don't know if it's a Patreon only Discord though.
No, it's
Wide open,
wide
wide open.
open.
Yeah, so is mine. So come hang out. But so I think Emily's busy. Emily is
Yeah.
doing everything. She's at a point now where I don't want to say that she's too busy for things like Gear Fest, but I don't want it to say I do want to say that, but I don't want to say it in that kind of the way it comes off, right?
Hmm. And
Emily just doesn't have time, sort of like how some YouTubers like another one that um oh, dang it. First name. First name. Why is the first name not Mary Spender has
okay.
been she's busy. She's super, she's doing some other things that aren't necessarily like straight up that kind of thing.
Well, I'll just say so a couple things. One, again, going back to affiliates, I just
Yeah.
looked at a couple of Emily's videos. Her primary affiliates are Zazounds
Oh, interesting.
and Perfect Circuit. So she's not, if she's working with Sweetwater, it's not direct. Um, Mary is another one who she doesn't have any affiliates. Now let's see. Here's a Neumann. She did a video on a Neumann U87, and there's no affiliate link for where to buy a Neumann U87.
Oh, I
It's
gotcha.
all just courses. So I mean, Mary kind of I would say she got out of the uh demo game a very long.
She
I mean,
did.
she did
She's a
a
lifestyle channel. She's not a demo
she
channel.
did do a video for when the American Vintage 2s launched for Fender. She did a video for them that does have a link. I can't, it's very long. I assume it is affiliate. I think we have a Zounds. I don't, again, is this Michael
I just call
Krause?
them Zounds. I just call them
Zounds. I think we have a Zounds affiliate now, or at least we were trying to set one up. But yeah, so one of the things that's tricky with Gearfest, and this kind of goes back to what I was mentioning earlier is that I think
you keep talking. I'm going to help David.
okay, cool, because that's what I was starting to do and losing my
Yeah,
train of
no,
thought.
you
Um,
talk.
yeah, Kyle B says Mary Spender's videos are for the Rick Beato crowd. That's 100%. I'm in the same opinion.
Yes.
Now I will say, you could possibly make the same argument for Rhett Scholl. Rhett Scholl was there. I think he still probably moves product for Sweetwater. And again, like some of this is based on, you go to their videos, are there Sweetwater links in the videos? That's the question that has to be answered. One of the things that Gearfest is definitely catered to at the moment is driving connection between brand and creator. So if some portion of your channel isn't making demos or isn't integrating product, on a regular basis, then it's like it's almost like the NAM argument that I've kind of made before, which is like if you're not if you're just going to NAM to treat it as like super giant Guitar Center,
Right.
then you're kind of like missing out on I think kind of the importance of the event, or at least what what I do at an event, at least, or what Ryan and I do at events, which is like try to NAM at this point is honestly it's more about hanging out than anything else.
Yeah,
Like
which is fine.
there's still some business angle to it. With Gearfest, it's kind of the same thing right now. And one of the things that I think is where last year Gator, unfortunately, our video didn't turn out. Gator had their Pelican competitor case, and they had people beating them with baseball bats. And several baseball bats broke. I think Ryan was the only one to actually have to bust open a case.
Oh, that's interesting.
That I saw because and I got they sent everybody cases afterwards too. They mailed them out, and I got a note in my case that I was the hardest. I had like the hardest direct hits on a case.
Yeah.
But I did not break a bat or a case, which was sad. But
that hits that softball player pride, doesn't it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I had the gain boosted on the Sennheiser microphone for that video, and so it did not turn out, and we never published it. This year, Gator had one of these like rotating camera things. That I think Ryan will be using that when we start publishing some of the more tougher content or more like involved content. I think he's going to use that possibly. But otherwise, like I think one of the things like a lot of the brands can improve on is creating interactive spaces, because what they're really doing right now is a lot of them like are just basically taking their NAMM booth or taking something similar to a NAMM booth to Gearfest.
Yeah.
And they're bringing in like I said before, like they bring in technical reps, they bring in salespeople. They're not necessarily bringing in like the marketing folks who can come in and who can like actually come in and discuss. Like at best, most of these folks, they're probably very good at their jobs, but they're not, but they're, when you come in and you say like, oh, I'm a YouTuber, it's, most of us have our contacts at these different companies already. We can do a lot of this business over email. Being able to travel to one spot so you don't have to ship guitars all over the country, there's advantages to it. But the core of it is like, it was neat to, now I need to send a follow-up email. It's like, we actually got to meet the social media person from Yamaha.
See, that's a bigger deal to me.
And we then they go, one person who was at the Yamaha booth who goes, oh, well, have you ever, like, you guys are in Southern California, you should come up to the Yamaha showroom in Calabasas sometime. Well, Calabasas is like a 3, even for me. Well, Calabasas is just like, it's on the north side of Los Angeles.
Okay, so
actually out.
And you're north of San Diego now.
I'm north of San Diego, but it's still like not a drive. Let's see, right now, it would take me 1 hour and 54 minutes. So there's very little traffic today, surprisingly, but it's still a 2-hour drive.
Everybody's shooting fireworks, Steve. There's
Yeah,
no traffic today.
we will be soon, well, not we won't, but people, my neighborhood will be. But then the social media person goes like, well, yeah, our showroom is in Calabasas, because like Ryan and I both kind of winced at like, oh, like that's a 2.5 hour drive depending on traffic. Like that's a long day.
Yeah.
And then their social media person goes like, well, our social media office is in Buena Park. And then I mentioned, well, one of the issues with Yamaha is, at least on like the electric guitar side, and even with like the Line 6 side, like y'all release one new product every 3 years. Like what's the last new Line 6 product, I guess, was the Catalyst amps, which is probably like a year ago. Have they released anything since then?
Have
Not
they?
that I can
don't
think
think
of.
so. I can't think of anything.
Yamaha, I think, has released the RevStar and some new finishes. But otherwise, their electrical guitar lineup hasn't changed since the RevStar relaunch.
What was the
new
DL4 after the Catalyst?
Oh, the DL4 Mark II might have been after.
Yeah.
DL4 Mark II. Let's see.
And they released a purple HX Stomp.
Yeah, the DL4 Mark II was August 2022.
Okay.
Around there, July, August 2022.
So still 8 months ago.
I guess there's the new THR. So anyway, one of the things that she said is, because when I brought this up, is she goes, well, we have our social media office I'll leave that up, in Buena Park. She goes, have you ever made content that's not for your own channel? And we were both kind of like, no. She goes, well, why don't you come, like, let's set something up. You guys come to our place and you make content for us. It'll be content that'll go on our socials, but you use our equipment. We'll just do some like fun shit. And I don't know if that's going to work out, but it was it was refreshing to talk to somebody who is also thinking about how do we not just, okay, we'll send you a guitar, you make a video, you do what you do, but also like, how do we take these people who have an audience and have them make unique content? Like we have a video when Ryan did the Black Star St. James video. There's like a 2-minute clip that they use as an ad on Facebook.
I've seen that
everyone complains about. Like there's like 400 comments on it, and I think at least 150 of them are like, why did you choose this guy? He sucks at guitar. There's also a lot of comments about how he's like dialing in a Fender tone for Fender guitars, and it's Black Star, and so you should be playing a Les Paul, but also like how there's too much, like he should both be playing a Les Paul, but also he shouldn't be blues noodling. The comment section on Facebook on these ads are always just nightmarish. But anyway, the point being, all they did is they took his demo, they cut a segment of it, and they used that. Yeah. Whereas what Yamaha is offering is, hey, you come to our spot, we'll set up some ideas. We were making jokes about like, hey, well, can you get like, can we do some stuff with like a motorcycle? Can you get us like a Yamaha like motorboat engine? And like, I'm like, I don't know what we would do, but it'll be dumb.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm, so that's, again, I don't know that we are going to do anything with them, but it was at least refreshing to talk to somebody who wasn't just trying to be like, oh yeah, well, this is this wood and this is why it's good. And it's like, yeah, look, it's a guitar. You are a well-established guitar brand. We know, everybody knows your guitars don't suck. So it's not about like, we can just do what we do. And it's not a knock on those brands. I think it's just something that like Gearfest, we're like, I say we, because I think Sweetwater integrates a lot of the feedback from the creatives that go to these events. They're taking a lot of that feedback. And so it's something that I think Sweetwater and us as on the creative side are partnering with to continuously make this thing better. Something I can tell you is well, the podcast is there. I think Ryan mentioned it on the live chat for that. Yeah, so this is exactly, Sassy, the kind of thing that I think we want to do is playing a Revstar on a four-wheeler. Use a Yamaha four-wheeler to test the Bluetooth range on with a Line 6 wireless, or check the wireless range on a Line 6 kit with a THR amp. Like that's a really stupid idea that I think we would be good at. Is it a cool idea? No, but it's stupid. And that's the brand. But one of the things that came up is, and I'll give a shout out. We used all Mackie stuff for all of the podcasting.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
For the episode that came out yesterday. I thought it sounded really good. I kind of want to listen to episodes back to back. But I think if the workflow for Ryan is good, then we're probably going to switch to that rig.
Oh, interesting.
And because one of the things that's kind of neat about it is Mackie has their own microphones. They now have like the DLZ Creator, which is the basically their competitor with the Roadcaster. It is a bigger unit, physically bigger unit. Oh, really? But you know, that kind of an idea. But because with this one, it's like using Mackie microphones, I think they have the presets for the microphones built into the DLZ Creator. So it kind of like already knows what the response pattern is for the microphone, and you can like load that as a preset. So that's kind of, I think that's the case if I understood it correctly. So if the flow is good, that's something. And again, I thought the audio, at least through, and we use Mac, you know, it's all Mackie board, Mackie mics, Mackie mic stands, Mackie headphones.
That's
all
a lot
that
of
stuff,
Mackie.
right?
A whole lot of Mackie.
But the guy who was running that space, who was also a Mackie tech or their product specialist or whatever, like he seemed really into, like I think he was kind of stuck in the room when he wasn't going to meetings, but he was like really into interacting with the creators when they came in, and he was super down to like, I don't want to like throw this as like other people from other companies are unfriendly. I don't think they are. I just think that there's like a core difficulty in understanding, like, look, at the end of the day, like I said, like everyone knows who, I don't know, I don't want to pick on any brand, but everyone knows who all the brands are that are there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so for us, it's like, yeah, we get to see the new product. That's cool. But you know, let's learn the business. Like we want to learn the business of it. And you don't learn the business of it in a booth where, you know, you're telling us about like why the new microphone or why the new guitar string or whatever thing that you brought is the newest, coolest thing.
Yeah.
You build those things over, you know, a bucket of fries and a margarita.
So to put it into slightly different terms, you don't go to GearFest as a content creator to hear the same spiel that you would hear at NAMM. You go to build a relationship with that brand, not the product they're putting out.
Yeah. So I'll, you know, and as part of this, like it almost kind of went off the rails because of it just worked out this way. Because we were on the same flight. So Friday night, which was the last night there, we hung out a ton with, actually Mackie bought us dinner and drinks, and it was us and Phil McKnight and a few other people. We just all hung out for dinner, and then the next day we ended up having, because we all were on the same, us and the Mackie rep were all on the same flight, we had lunch together in Dallas.
Yeah,
we had like a 2.5 hour layover, so it was like perfect for having like an actual meal and not just like grabbing something fast food to eat on the plane. But it was like a really cool, like, now it feels like this is a brand that, where we can say more than just like, oh yeah, like they make a cool product, like, where
Gotcha.
it feels more genuine. And this was something I heard from like a lot of creators that we talked to. So again, hopefully that feedback for Sweetwater is coming from a lot of different places where people legit, like, several creators kind of said like, look, like, if I try your product and it's a good product, then I will say, like, and people probably don't want to hear this, but it's true. The Mad Men relationship building is very real. I think, it's not like, now if we're gonna go hang out and you're also like, have Don Draper's approach to women, then things probably aren't gonna work out so hot.
Right.
But in terms of just, like, let's hang out, let's like build the brand, and so one of the creators I talked to when we were talking about like this sort of thing basically said like, look, like, if a brand gives you a new product and it's good, you're going to say that product is good.
Yep.
If a brand buys you dinner and drinks, then now you're going to say this brand is good. And if that brand has a misstep, now you're going to be more likely to give them leeway.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. Even in the little bit of time I've been doing this as a podcaster, primarily, I don't call myself quite a YouTuber, but as a podcaster, there are certain brands that I work with that I feel like I built good relationships with, and I like the brand.
Yeah.
It's not as much about the products. People like Rick over at Honey Picks that I work with a lot, or like one brand that I really love that I've been working with a lot and going to be doing a lot more with is like, I mean, I'm already using the microphone, so I don't have to say anything. Lewitt Audio.
Lewitt, yeah.
Yeah, I've got to plug this in. Yep. See, I've got a ton of Honey Picks sitting at my desk, but I actually have this I need to plug in today. It's on my agenda to play around with their Connect 6 interface.
How big is that? I was told it's too big to be a permanent installation on my desk.
So to compare,
what's that other box?
To compare, that's the RE202.
Okay, that seems small.
It is not big. It is not very big at all. It is literally about the same size as the RE202.
I wonder how that compares to like a because I think what I'm going to be putting on my desk is the UA Volt 2.
I had the UA Volt 2. I had the 276 to be very specifically. It is shorter than the 2, and it is longer than the 2, but it's about the same length. So it's like a 2 would cut the Volt 2 would cut off about here.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little bigger, but it's really nice. I like the inputs on it. It's USB-C. It's got an aux in. It's got a mobile in. It's got a power in. It's got stereo out plus 2 headphone outs. I'm actually doing some work with this and not intentionally making this a pitch for them, but I've been doing, so I work in public libraries for those of you that don't know. And I've been pitching the concept of podcasts as a way of community engagement for public libraries. And I'm doing some presentations at a couple of conferences over the next year. And this is one of the things I'm looking at as recommending to public libraries as an affordable entry point of an interface to start podcasting, because you can podcast to your phone with this. You can podcast to an iPad with this.
Oh, interesting.
You don't need a computer.
Right.
So that's what I'm looking at here. So highly recommend. But back on the subject though, Lewitt is a brand who the people that run the brand talk to me as a person just interested in people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not necessarily pitching me products.
I can say, I think with pretty confidently that when you dragged Ryan to the Gibson garage, like, I think that changed his opinion on Gibson.
I think it did too, and it should have, because
all of a sudden, like, Mark Agnesi wants to tell him about the number of times I've heard the golden trash can story,
That
and
was a great story.
and that, because that's a personal connection now. It's not just like, oh, Mark, the Instagram, YouTube, whatever personality, but actually meeting the person, and the fact that they knew who he was.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like Mark walked directly up to me and said, "You dragged him in here, didn't you?" I was like,
yeah,
"Yes, I did." Because those of you who don't know the story, super fast version. We were at NAMM, Summer NAMM 2021, and we had given up on NAMM because so Ryan and I was carting Ryan around to do video shoots like y'all have probably seen. I actually played guitar in the video at Carter Vintage.
yeah,
Um, we went there, we went to Fanny's, we did a bunch of stuff, and then we grabbed like some food real late, and we almost didn't go to Gibson Garage. And I was like, I really want to go. He said, I know you really want to go. Let's go. We'll go do the thing. And so I dragged him in, and it was such a cool experience. Like Mark Agnesi drags us into the back, into the artist relations room, shows us the vault. And he didn't try to sell us on Gibson. He sat and talked to us about tacos. It was a great chat, and golden garbage cans. And, it was, I think those kinds of stories have to be told because they make the brand more personable.
Yeah.
Rather than this, hey, here's this product. No, here's a company you want to be involved with.
And part of that is because the reality is that unpopular opinion. I don't know. I mean, I think if you take a step back and you think about it as like, you just take the names off of everything, right? There's kind of pros, like maybe for stylistically, you say like, well, I really like something about the 25 3/4 inch scales works for you. So you're naturally going to want to play Gibson guitar.
Right. 24 3/4. But yeah, I'm correcting.
What did I say 25 3/4?
Yeah, I'm correcting you before the comments do. Steve knows.
24 3/4, or was PRS is like something stupid now.
It's 20. Well, it's 25. It's 25 unless you buy a 594, in which case it's 24.594.
Didn't they have one that was like 25.3 or something?
It doesn't matter. Paul likes to do what Paul likes to do.
Yeah. And then Fender classically is a 25.5. So those types of differences aside, right? They all make a good product.
That's exactly it.
And so Music Man makes a good product, and all of these companies make a good product, and their products can speak a lot for them. But then when you have like sometimes the brand that you are going to innately promote, when somebody says, hey, Phillip, like I really want something outside of your wheelhouse. Hey, I really want a single coil guitar. Like I know you're really into humbuckers, but what's your go-to single coil guitar? Like you might say Fender, but if there's like an equal brand, like my inclination would be to say Fender. But if we start getting wined and dined by Ernie Ball, I'm going to start saying Ernie Ball.
Right.
Exactly. Does that mean that Ernie Ball makes a better product than Fender? For the price, is a $2,500 Music Man better than a $2,500 Fender? I don't know. Maybe I'm not going to say it is or it isn't. I just can't, I can't answer that right now. But what I can say is, again, like with a brand that's going to be in the forefront of my brain is going to be the brand that, again, I think this is human nature, and it's something that it's good to separate if you can, but if it's not critical, it's not critical. Everyone being equal, I'm going to like go with the brand that is the best one. And also, so for that, the real answer for the best Stratocaster is Cower with 3 pickups.
Oh yeah, the airliner. It's the airliner.
Is that what? No, it's the
Starliner.
Starliner.
Yeah. Well, it's just like this. I love this.
Or the Electroliner.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one. This is the
Well,
Electroliner.
it's just like I love this from Lewitt, right?
Mhm.
My main interface is an Apollo Twin. That's what I'm going through right now. And I haven't plugged this in yet because I haven't had a chance. It's been a hellish week for me, just to be honest, the last week. But if you're Facebook friends with me, you kind of know what's been going on. But I'm excited to try this, and I think it's a great alternative for less money. Just before I even plug it in, it's probably going to be a great alternative because I love this brand and what they do. But if somebody's asking me for recommendations, yeah, I'm going to mention this because I like the brand and I like Dan over at Lewitt, who is a Patreon of my podcast. You know what I mean? And talks to me, and we have conversations about the stuff they're doing. Same thing with any other brand. The way too many guitars I have. I love Gibson, but if somebody asks me for recommendations on guitar and they're not necessarily budget conscious, I'm going to mention companies like Grez because I love Barry.
Yeah.
Barry's a good dude that makes great guitars. I'm going to mention them because they talk to me and I have a relationship with them. So it is a thing. I'm going to force us into getting close to closing because we're over that 2-hour mark that we try to hit. And we're over that. So if there are any last minute questions before I go, I haven't had breakfast or lunch and it's 2:30 either. So I'm getting a little antsy. So if anybody's got any questions, we'll wrap up in the next 5-10 minutes. And Hugh Lewis is all about the news. That's what I hear, Sassy.
Yeah. Zim's guitar. Hey, what's up? Got here right at the end. We're wrapping up. I actually need to pull my car in the garage.
Well, so you don't get hit by fireworks?
No, actually, but though actually it does rain down. We're hitting our hot spot right now. My little weather widget says it's 91. I don't know if that's accurate.
Oh, that's cute, Steve. We've been today is not as bad because it rained a lot last night, but for the last week we've been 97 to 100 with 115 heat index. So
I don't know what our heat index is. It's probably inconsequential, but I think the actual high today is 99, but we're going to San Diego. So
I gotcha.
Since 4th of July, do you have any other 4th of July plans? Because I know people have been asking.
No, dude. We did our family 4th. So my in-laws do a 4th of July thing with the grandparents and like the cousins and do a whole thing. We did that on Saturday. So today is a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
I actually have a video that's I need to record a couple of YouTube videos. So that's what I'm doing today. I've got one I'm about to work on as a comparison between mono gig bags versus reunion blues.
Cool.
Yeah, because I had somebody ask me about them and I was like, that's a good video idea.
And of course, Zims plays the trump card by saying, I'm in Phoenix.
It's a dry heat, though, Zims.
Which is supposed to be 112 today.
Jeez.
Whatever weather station I am closest to is currently reading 100 degrees. That's like somebody's personal weather station, and that apparently is supposed to be cooler than yesterday.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know,
but at least
I don't even know where to find heat index on this stupid website.
I just searched for it, but at least in Phoenix, like, your high temperature and your heat index are very similar,
right?
Here in Mississippi, there's a 15 to 20 degree differential in our high versus our heat index.
Oh, that feels like, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not quite the same, but it's close enough. Yeah. So in Mississippi, I call it the wet sweater effect. Whatever the temperature is in Mississippi, imagine you're wearing a wet sweater, and that's what it feels like.
Oh my gosh.
So if it is 40 degrees, it feels like 40 degrees wearing a wet sweater. Yes, Michael, it is. If it's 100 degrees, it's like 100 degrees in a wet sweater.
You're right. Oh.
Sassy, isn't the Paranormal 12 a Jazzmaster 12? Are they not the same thing?
They are different instruments though.
Okay.
I actually did not play the Paranormal 12. So there's the parent. So I believe what he's talking about is there's the Paranormal Jazzmaster 12 versus the Fender a few years ago did a
Okay.
Jazzmaster 12. That Jazzmaster 12 that Fender did has the 12 the Tic Tac pickups versus the Paranormal has the Jazzmaster pickups.
I want the Jazzmaster 12, and if they will stay available long enough for me to recoup some funds after spending, a little bit this month, I'm probably going to buy one because I do not have an electric 12 string. So
yeah.
I think I tried to play one. I picked one up in a Guitar Center in Birmingham. Speaking of Alabama, I see you, Instant Charlie. And Snarky was born in Alabama, but I picked one up at a Guitar Center in Birmingham, and it was unplayable tuning wise, and I was not gonna hunt someone down for a tuner to tune a 12 string.
The Fender one was the alternate reality 12.
Oh, okay. Let me find that. So there's an alternate reality series and there's a paranormal series?
Yeah, so the alternate reality was the Fender one. The paranormal now is the Squire one.
Okay, I get it now. So alternate reality is the Fender version of the paranormal universe where they take two things and put them together like some bastard love child.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I don't know. Ryan will have a video on the Jazzmaster 12.
Okay.
And in the back of that video, I am playing the Mikey Way jazz bass. But I don't know if I am actually on camera because I'm like literally directly behind Ryan.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Michael Krause, the Dan Electra 12 is a solid choice and was what I was looking at getting until they put out the Paranormal series.
Yeah.
So to this day, the Rascal Bass is my most successful YouTube video of all time. So
I mean, you hit the timer on that one. So again, because they weren't really like promoting a ton of this stuff. So.
I know. So I can't afford to constantly be on the cutting edge of what's coming out though. So
yeah.
Because like I said, I do all this out of pocket. Nobody sends me things. That's fine. That's the world I'm in. I also have a full-time job besides this. So
no, I hear that.
Yeah, you get it. Oh, well, y'all, I think we're about the end of it here. Unless somebody has anything other pressing that we really need to cover. Steve, it's been good. I'm glad we got to do something.
Yeah, for sure.
Some last minute housekeeping before we go, because I don't know. I'd hope we'd be able to. Yeah, we're gonna do another live before because we've been fairly regular with these every 3 weeks or so.
Something like that.
I'm gonna be going to Chicago in August.
Oh, cool.
For Fretboard Summit.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be super fun. So I'm super excited. That's gonna hopefully get some content out about that. I know a bunch of folks that are going. Joey Landreth from Bros Landreth is going to be there. Adam Miller, Australian guitarist, is going to be there. Not the Adam Miller YouTuber, totally different person.
There's too many Adam Millers.
There are several Adam Millers, and I've had to make that differentiation. I think Jason from Working Class Music is going to be there.
Yeah.
Mike Pusheen Adams is going to be there. Emily Harris is going to be there. It's going to be a good time. I'm really excited about it. But I was going to mention, I'm going to try to make it to NAMM this year in January when it's back at the normal time. I'm assuming y'all are going. I need to start looking at housing because at least it's January in Anaheim again.
Yeah.
Instead of June or April.
Yeah. Snarky says, how's the honey jar? I assume he's talking about this. This is my jar of pigs that lives on my desk.
Oh, This is where I keep all my
Instant
picks
access.
on my desk. It's one of these little like Walmart plastic containers with a lid. Right now it's
a
got
tackle box.
exactly tackle box. It's got mostly honey picks in here. My capo. Normally it has a couple of slides in it, but I've been playing Resonator all for the last couple of days, so all my slides are out on my desk. So it's just a thing.
So yeah, I think we can call it a show.
Yeah, I think we killed it, knocked it out of the park. It's great.
Done.
Well, y'all,
Thanks for hanging out, everyone.
Yeah, same. For Steve, stay grounded. Oh, Steve's that way. For me, yeah, there we go.
I'm right here.
For Steve, stay grounded, and for me, be good to yourselves, be kind to each other, and make some noise.
Catch y'all later.
Later.